So good evening, everyone. I welcome you all for the 8th edition of the 5 editorials of the week series. In this initiative, what we will do is we used to, so that is, we will be picking the most relevant 5 editorial which came in Hindu in the last 1 week, and we will be discussing those editorial with respect to the UPSC mains point of view. Already we have done this video series 7 times, so this is the 8th one. So today we are going to discuss the Federalism. So first editorial is about the federalism. So here the author talks about the cooperative federalism. The second editorial is about the air pollution of Delhi. So moving towards the cleaner air. So third editorial is about the recent how it's been 15th year of RTA and how RTA is being attacked by the executives. And the fourth one is about the phased manufacturing policy. That is, recently government launched this performance based linked incentive scheme for the mobile manufacturing. So it is about that and reality check of that issue. And the fifth editorial is about the Toy Story. So in today's Hindu, we had this ground zero report regarding the toy industry. So recently Prime Minister talked about it. So it is a ground zero report of the toy industry in India. So let us go to the first editorial. The first editorial for the day is about the federalism. Now, a partisan internal dialogue. So this editorial is written by Mr. Sukumar Muralidharan. Sukumar Muralidharan is a professor. So in this editorial, Sukumar Muralidharan talks about the evolution of the cooperative federalism. So recently, the new government which came into power in 2014 is talking about the cooperative federalism and brought a lot of initiative regarding the cooperative federalism. So this editorial talks about that cooperative federalism. And he also discusses how the federalism evolved in India from starting from the Congress system to the present system of BJP, how the federalism evolved, and that is also being discussed. So that is relevant for us in issues pertaining to federalism in paper 2. In paper 2, we are having this word called federalism. Already we discussed 4 editorial regarding federalism. So this is one among them. So read those 4 editorials, and this is the 5th one in that series regarding federalism. So if at all, if there is an essay regarding federalism, see, already we have discussed the 4 editorials regarding federalism in this series itself. So that is the potential of this initiative. And then another topic where this topic is relevant is that the post-independence consolidation or the modern India, where there can be a question regarding how the federalism evolved all over the years. So that is also a possible one. So the first point which the author talks about is that government initiative this GST. So there was this GST implementation. So government called it a triumphalistic step with respect to the cooperative federalism. So, but recently what happened, because we also know that recently a CAG report came. This CAG report talked about the compensation cess. So GST compensation cess was brought in order to provide the compensation to the states who might be losing their revenue. So that is the purpose of GST compensation cess. But what the union government did, instead of sharing this GST compensation cess with the state governments, they diverted the money. The money collected through the GST compensation cess were retained and diverted. So when GST was brought in, it was a federal move. So and it needed the ratification by 15 states when the constitutional amendment was brought. So all the states unanimously accepted, and all the opposition party also unanimously accepted with respect to GST only based on the trust which was given by the union government. So if now union government is breaching the trust which it gave when they implemented the GST, so then it might lead to a new trust issue and a new turn with respect to the history of the Indian federalism. So that is the first issue which the author is talking. The issue is the recent move by the government is creating a trust issue. So the next is at this juncture, we know after this COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of states were demanding the like every year the states deserve their own revenue share with respect to the GST compensation cess. These states were demanding their GST compensation cess which were due to them. But what union government did? Union government asked those states to borrow. Instead of giving them the share, they asked them to borrow, and they also stated that you can borrow, and we are increasing the borrowing limit under Article 293. So when states demanded their rights under GST Acts based on this compensation cess model, the union government asked them to borrow. But the CAC report which came recently showed a shocking revelation that central government is diverting this money which was collected in the compensation cess. So this is a very big trust issue with respect to the with respect to GST and with respect to the federation. And also the states are divided. If you could note, there is a trend that among all the states, the state which is being ruled by the current ruling party is supported this government's move, and all the states where the opposition is in the governance, they were opposing the move of the government. So if you could see, there is some trend with respect to the federalism, and this trend can be compared with respect to the Congress system which came earlier. So that is the first point which the author discussing. We'll discuss about the Congress system in the due course of the video. The second one is credit ratings. If you could see, why union government is not see, all the economists all over the world, what they did when we faced with the COVID-19 pandemic, our economy was going under the downturn. We also saw that economy's growth rate fell to below 23%. All the great economists of the world are suggesting that the governments of each and every nation should provide a fiscal stimulus. So we already saw in the previous editorials that the tax collection is falling at one side. When the tax collection is falling, how they can increase the fiscal stimulus? They can increase the fiscal stimulus by borrowing more. We also saw an article written by Dr. Manmohan Singh which said that states should increase their borrowing. But instead of borrowing more money and spending more money, union government is not doing it. Instead of union government, what it is doing, it is reluctant to borrow and spend because it might increase the fiscal deficit. Union government is concerned more about fiscal deficit. Why it is concerned more about the fiscal deficit? Because if the fiscal deficit increases and the state's financing capacity decreases, then the credit rating agency, international credit rating agencies might downgrade India. It may downgrade the India. If they downgrade the India, the foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment coming to India might stop. So foreign direct investment might come, but foreign portfolio investment might be affected. So here union government is giving priority to the credit ratings and the foreign portfolio investments instead of borrowing the money and doing the fiscal stimulus. So at the one side we are having this credit rating, on the other side we are having millions of people who are poor who needs the fiscal stimulus. So poor people. On the other side we are having state governments who are drenched with their finances and they need support from the union government, but union government is preventing the credit rating and giving priority to that. So that is one short-sighted step by the union government, so which is under the criticism in the recent time. So we can write this point in a softer way. That is, instead of prioritizing the state's fiscal health, the union government is prioritizing credit ratings. But this credit rating see, if at all union government is not borrowing and not investing in future, our economy can further worsen, and that may naturally bring down the credit rating. So there is no point in union government supporting this argument. So that is one side. So they are prioritizing credit ratings instead of the state government's fiscal health. So this is another issue with respect to the federalism. So that is the second point where the federalism is under the threat. The third point is about the Article 293. So what does Article 293 of the Constitution talks about? See, we have to note down this article. When we are writing the answers, we have to quote it. So Article 293 talks about the borrowing by the state governments, how state government can borrow their money. So state government can borrow the money and they can borrow the money based on the law fixed by the state legislature, and they are also subjected to the law passed by the parliament. And whenever state government is having any due with respect to central government, they cannot borrow. And you go and read the Article 293 in polity for further understanding. So recently what union government did, instead of providing the compensation money and instead of providing the financial support to state government, it said that it allowed state government to increase the borrowing limit. So there is a borrowing limit above which the state government cannot borrow, and it is being fixed by the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act and by the union government. But what the union government did, instead of they borrowing, they asked the state government to borrow more and they increased the borrowing limit. Okay, they didn't do this as a blanket announcement and increase the borrowing limit. Instead, they fixed the conditionalities. So when they can increase the borrowing limit and borrow more is that when they are implementing the two schemes. So here union government, what they are doing, see, either they should have given the monetary support, either they should have given the financial support, or they should have borrowed money and provided either they should have borrowed the money and provided the monetary support, or they should have released the compensation money. They didn't do both. What union government did, instead of that, union government is asking the state governments to borrow and it is increasing the borrowing limit. So this also, it wasn't done directly. What the union government is telling, in order to do this, it is bringing in two conditionalities. That is, those state governments which is accepting this one nation, one ration card scheme, and those state government which is improving the ease of doing business ranking, only to those state governments we will increase the borrowing limit. Likewise, they are keeping a checkmate for the state governments and they are forcing the decisions of the union government on the state government. This conditionality kept for increasing the borrowing limit and forcing the one nation, one nation, one ration card scheme is a very good scheme. It should be welcomed. It is having the criticism, it should be reformed, but still on all federal capacity, state governments are having their powers to restrict it because food distribution comes under the state list. But union government is forcing the central government, forcing the state governments to implement this one nation, one ration card and to improve the ease of doing business. Only if they do that, they can they will be providing the borrowing limit. So already whatever they are doing is under whatever required. It is not meeting the requirements of the state governments. Even then, they are providing this borrowing limit. So that is a cause of concern. This forcing is against the principles of federalism. So that is one thing. And author also talks about the problem with respect to the ease of doing business, which the union government is aiming for. See, ease of doing business, union government is aiming to bring India into top 50 of ease of doing business ranking. Already we are in the 60s now. We were in 142 and we brought down this ranking to 67. And government is focusing to go into top 50. But if you could see the ease of doing business index, it is being calculated based on the performance of the cities, only 2 cities. It is not being calculated for entire India. It is calculated based on the performance of Mumbai and Delhi. And inherently, government is just focusing ease of doing business. And recently, the government brought 2 initiatives. One is the labor code arrangements, labor code amendments. And the second one is bringing the agri-marketing reform. See, both these initiatives were aimed at ease of doing business. But if you see on the other side, in the name of ease of doing business, here the rights of the laborers are being curtailed. Here the rights of the state government, which we already discussed in the previous video regarding the agricultural marketing reform and federalism issue. And we saw how unconstitutional the move was because union government was legislating in the state government's area. So in the name of ease of doing business, the labor laws are in the stake at one side, state government's federal rights are in the stake at the other side, and it is also not a true index. It is based on only 2 cities. And also, if we are just focusing on ease of doing business, what will happen to the sustainable development? So that is another question mark which the author is raising. And then finally, in this editorial, when after writing about the various reality checks for the cooperative federalism, even though government brought in this cooperative federalism, all these points are threatening the existence of this cooperative federalism. And the author also talks about how Indian Federation evolved. So this area, this evolution is related to the GS paper 1, post-independence consolidation. So in that area, the questions can be coming. So just note down this terminology. Actually, this entire area is discussed in the Politics of India since Independence NCRT. So there is an NCRT in 12th standard called Politics in India since Independence. In that NCRT, it is being discussed in detail. So evolution of Indian federalism. See, if you could see from 1950 to 1967, the federal system was called as a Congress system. Why it was called as Congress system? Because both in the union government and in the state government side, both the areas, the Congress was ruling. In all the state, except in Kerala, or in all the state, Congress was ruling, and in the union government also Congress was there. So it is entirely one party. So any issues with respect to federalism, see, at that time also there were conflicts between union government and state governments. At that time, what happened? All the federal issues were solved as the inter-party issue. See, intra-party issue. It was solved in the Congress committee meetings as a Congress issue because, see, Prime Minister is also a congressman and the state government chief minister is also a congressman. So whenever there is a federal issue, it was solved within the Congress system instead of bringing it into a legal dialogue or bringing it into a political dialogue. So that is Congress system. But later on, what happened with the emergence of the linguistic state, with the emergence of the regionalism, with the emergence of agricultural distress in the 1960s and the economic fallout after that, this Congress system slowly eroded and the regional parties started to come. With the advent of regional party, you also know DMK won the election in 1967, the regional party came. So from 1967 to 1989, if you could see the elections of the union government, all the elections were decided based on whether the people were having the wave in favor of the Congress or they are against the Congress. Okay, so whenever if you could see the Congress winning in the state government is based on this wave. Okay, either it is in favor of them or against them. If you could see in 1969 election, the people were in favor of Congress. In 1971, the wave was very huge in favor of Congress and the Congress won in the union government. But if you could see in 1977, the wave was against the Congress because of the emergency and the Congress lost here. And if you could see in 1980, again Congress won the government because the wave turned in favor because of the crumbling Janata government. Again in 1984, after the assassination of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, again the Congress won the election because they were having the favor. So likewise, the waves were moving. It was going like a pendulum. Again in 1989, the wave was against the Congress. Whenever the wave was in favor of Congress, Congress government came. Whenever the wave was against it, if you could see, the wave was against it in 1977 and 1989. in both the occasions we had a coalition government. Okay, but majoritarily this era also was ruled by the Congress in the center and in the most of the states. Later on, after 1989 to 2014, the coalition era began. That is the coalition government, pure coalition government. After 1989, Congress never got the majority and the Congress dominance fell after 1989. From 1989 onwards, entirely it was coalition like NDA or UPA and Democratic Progressive Alliance, so DPA, all these things were emerging and the coalition government was going on. If you could see 89, it was Chandra, we were having VP Singh's government. In 91, again, there was a Congress coalition. In 96, we were having the coalition by BJP. Again, in 1999, coalition by BJP. Again, from 2004 to 2014, we had a UPA, which is Congress's coalition. Everything was a coalition government. Again, from 2014 onwards, if you could see, this coalition era came to an end. Again, in 2014, one single party got the majority, and slowly from 2014 and 2019 onwards, we are again moving towards this one party system. That is the reprise of the Congress system, where a single party got the power both in the union government and in the state government area, and all the federal issues were solved based on that. If you could see here, we also also saw here all the state governments which is ruled by BJP are supporting the move. So likewise, again, we are moving towards the single party system. So this is another area which is very important with respect to the Indian history, which we have to note, and it is discussed in the NCERT also, and these terminologies also were found in the NCERT. That's why I wanted to discuss this one. So again, we are moving to the single party system. This movement of single party system might bring this federalism under question, because everything will be intra-party issue and it not be a judicial issue. And hence, what we have to do now, the union government should take all measures to strengthen the confidence of the state with respect to federalism, and the whatever promised cooperative federalism which they did should be brought back. So that is the ultimate thing now. So the second editorial for the day is about the towards cleaner Delhi. So it is about the air pollution in the Delhi. So in GS paper 3, we are having this topic called environmental pollution. So this environmental pollution is part of the GS paper 3. And in GS paper 1, we are having this issue of urbanization. So Delhi pollution issue is a pure urbanization based issue, and urbanization is part of GS paper 1. So note down, you have to have clear understanding where this urbanization is placed and in which paper the question might come. So this editorial towards the cleaner Delhi is written by Mr. Vinod Thomas, and he is also a professor. So what the author is telling that, see, we all know that Delhi's air pollution issue is mainly because of various reasons. We all know one side we are having the stubble burning. On the other side, we are having industries which is creating the pollution. On the other side, we are having transport vehicles. Then we are having power plants. So all these things together cause the Delhi pollution. And so if we want to find a solution for the Delhi pollution, we have to address all these things. But all the attention is there only with respect to stubble burning. Whenever you see, all the attention and all the blame is going to stubble burning. Yes, of course, stubble burning is creating a huge problem. But not by addressing only stubble burning will not end the issue. Along with the stubble burning, we have to address these issues also. And author here in this editorial is talking that transportation is one major area where we need to focus. Delhi's long-term solution will depend importantly on abating the emissions from transportation. So in this editorial, author is talking only about the transportation sector and how we can mitigate the pollution caused by the transportation sector. We all know Delhi is the most urbanized region in the nation. Almost 95% of the Delhi is urbanized. So with huge urbanization, there comes huge vehicles and pollution. Okay. So if you could see, author gives us a few facts which we can quote in the mains examination. Please note down all these facts and write in the answer. Cutting the air pollution from all the sources by 1/3. If at all we are cutting the solutions, we saw 4 causes. If at all we are cutting the pollution from all the 4 sources at 1/3. 1/3 reduction in pollution will improve the lives of the people for 2 to 3 years. That is, we all know because of the air pollution, people are getting severe lung problems. So air pollution will affect the lungs and it might deteriorate the lives of the people. That is, it is deteriorate the lifespan. Because of continuous exposure of air pollution, the lifespan of the people will fall. So by reducing just 1/3 of the pollution, that is 33% of the pollution, we can improve the lifespan by 2 to 3 years. Imagine reaching 50% or 75%. So that will create a huge difference. So that is the first fact which the author is writing. We can write this fact with respect to the health also. With respect to health, life expectancy, there also we can quote. With respect to pollution also we can quote this fact. So note down this fact. So Delhi's air not only contains the pollution caused by the particulate matter. Particulate matter is caused by the stubble burning. But if you could see the Delhi's air, the concentration of NO, nitrous oxide and sulfur dioxide is also high. This nitrous oxide and sulfur dioxide comes mainly from the industries and from the vehicles. Okay. If the policy, there are 4 major elements which are causing pollution: PM 2.5, PM10, then we are having nitrous oxide and sulfur dioxide. All the 4 are creating pollution, but stubble burning causes only these 2 things, but the vehicular pollution and industrial pollution causes these 2 things. These 2 things are also very dangerous, so we have to address this also. That is another argument of the author by is classifying the causes of the pollution, which we can note for the mains again when we are writing our answer. Reduction of 65% is needed to match the national standards for particulate matter. See, we need to reduce the particulate matter content by 65%. Then only we can achieve the national standard. So that is another target which the author is talking about. So now we saw the 2 targets. Next, let us see how we can address the air pollution in the transportation sector. How we can reduce the Delhi woes by addressing the transportation. The first point which the author says 3 points. One is by addressing the emission standards. Other is by addressing the public transport system. Other thing is by promoting e-vehicles. So these are all the three areas which the author suggests to address the Delhi's air pollution. The first one is about strict enforcement of emission standards. See, we moved from Bharat 4 to Bharat 6. We skipped the Bharat 5. Okay, Bharat 6 is going to be implemented, and Delhi implemented this Bharat 6 last year itself. Okay, we moved towards the new emission standards. We brought in new fuels with new emission standards, but just having these standards on paper will not ensure clean air. We should also implement it. We should also go and check whether the vehicles are emitting emitting based on the standards. We should also go and do the inspection. Only if we are doing the inspection and checking at the ground level, then only we can ensure that this pollution is being addressed. So we have to impose the penalties, and we have to impose this. We have to carry out the inspections, and we also see penalties should be made stricter. So that is the first thing. Next one is inspection. That is, the police should stop the vehicles and they should do the pollution check inspections on a regular basis, like they are asking for the license or RC books. Another thing is maintenance norms. If you could see in the foreign nations, you cannot drive a car for more than 10 years. After 10 years, automatically the car should be brought back to garage and it should be destroyed. But in India, we are not having such norms. We are limitlessly using the cars. So such maintenance norms and strict enforcement of car services. See, we Indians will never do the service until the car is getting repaired, and we'll never do the service until the bike are getting repaired. That is our mentality. We should do the regular service. Only if you are doing the regular service, the engine life will be good, and the emission which is coming out of the vehicle will also be with respect to emission standards. If you are not doing the service, what will happen? The new vehicle can reduce the emissions, but the aged vehicles might create the problem again. So we should bring in the maintenance norm. So that is the first point. Second point is about the improving the public transport system by bringing in the bus rapid transit system. This bus rapid transit system, BRT, is nothing but having separate lane for the buses. If this is the road, in between the road, like the vehicles will be going like this and vehicle will be coming like this. In between, there will be a separate lane where only buses can go. Only the public buses can go. This is BRT system. Delhi had this system, but they removed it because, see, they removed that it was inefficient. So the inefficiency is mainly because of the poor implementation of Delhi, not with respect to the poor drawbacks of the BRT system. BRT system is a most successful system, and we are having many models: Istanbul model, Mexico City model, and Johannesburg model. So based on those successful models, we have to improve the BRT system in a proper way by selecting the better lanes. See, already Delhi is highly densed with the metro. So we have to suit the lanes in such a way that those lanes are in sync with the metro, though it should act as a complementary nature to the existing metro system. So likewise, we have to choose the lanes, and they have to improve the ticketing system in order to make it further efficient. So this is based on the Mexico City, Istanbul, and Johannesburg model. So note down these 3 points, and when you are writing answer, just quote it down. You don't need to go and study these models and all. When you are writing answer, just mention Mexico model, Johannesburg model, and quote all these points. That will itself give you the good attraction with respect to your answer. And finally, and what the author is telling, odd or even is a very good thing. Odd or even is not a long-term solution. Long-term solution is improving the public transport system and reducing the number of vehicles. See, odd or even was brought into the was enforced in Delhi mainly to reduce the number of vehicles. See, it was brought to reduce the vehicles on the road, but it is just a complement. It can act as just a complementary role, and it is just a short-term measure. In long term, in order to reduce the number of vehicles, we should improve the public distribution system. If you are improving more buses, more metros, then people will prefer them instead of using their individual car or bike. So this can just act as a complementary role, but this cannot be the long-term solution. So that is what the author is talking. Next, final step which author is talking is the e-vehicles. So this bringing in the e-vehicle is the long-term measure. So first one is bringing in the e-vehicles is very good. But what e-vehicles are using? Why e-vehicles are better than the normal vehicles? Because they are using electricity and they will not emit any NO or SO2 or carbon monoxide or CO2. Instead, they will not emit anything because they are using the battery and they are just running the motor. They will just emit the heat. But there is a catch here. Anyway, they are going to get charged and you are using electricity. This electricity, if it is coming from coal power plant, then what will happen? The increased consumption of electricity will increase the demand for coal and more pollution again. If you are using the electricity to charge the vehicles, and that electricity, if it is coming from coal power plant, then there is no use of bringing in the electric vehicles. So whenever you are charging the electric vehicle, that electricity which you are charging should come from non-fossil fuel. It should come from solar, it should come from wind instead of coming from coal. Only if the charging is renewable, then only the e-vehicles will be meaningful. Okay, so that is the first step with the author is talking. Second one is Delhi government has kept an ambitious target, a 3-year policy, where by 2024, 1/4 of the vehicle in the New Delhi should be, that is 25% of the vehicle in New Delhi should be e-vehicles. So this is the Delhi government's target and they should implement this target. So that is another thing. For this implementation, union government should also cooperate with the Delhi government. We also discussed what are all the tussles going between the union government and state government with respect to another 5 editorial video previously. Then how you can boost the purchase of e-vehicles? First, we have to provide incentives. Only if the buyer is provided incentives, he will come and buy. So the prices should be low. Buyer should be provided incentives, and the loan should be given. If you are buying a vehicle, car loan, that car loan should be in favorable term. It should have low interest rate. It should not have high interest rate. At the same time, waiver of the road tax. Again, the road tax for e-vehicle can be waived. So it's like that incentive should be given. And if the e-vehicles is getting older, the government should provide the scrappage benefits. So that should also be introduced. So like this, government should incentivize the sales of e-vehicles, and they should finally, what the author is telling, that an integrated approach should be brought where industry and agriculture are coming together. Industry means e-vehicle manufacturing industries, that is one side. On another side, more industries should manufacture e-vehicles. At the other side, industries which are polluting should reduce the pollution emission norms. They should implement the emission norms in a stricter way. Agriculture, the stubble burning should be controlled, and all the 4 states should cooperate well. That is the Punjab, Haryana, UP, and Delhi. All the 4 governments should come together and they have to implement, and citizens also should be active participants. Whenever government is bringing in the odd or even scheme, the citizens should support it. Whenever the government is asking us to bring in the emission standards and do the service in a regular basis, citizens should do their service on a regular basis. Likewise, citizens' participation is also crucial. So then only we can bring down the pollution. So what the author is telling here, author is telling that you have to reduce the pollution coming from the transportation sector, not just focus on the pollution through the stubbles. So that is the main thing which the author is telling. So the third editorial for the day is about the RTI Act, Right to Information Act. So recently, government amended the Right to Information Act in 2019, and Right to Information Act is a phenomenal act in the history of Indian governance, and it is the 15th year anniversary of the Right to Information Act. See, Right to Information Act brought in the transparency in the government. If you could note, Right to Information Act was mainly brought in to bring in the transparency in the government and to bring in the accountability in the government. So both these are related to GS paper 2, and RTI is directly given in the GS paper 4. Directly in paper 4, RTI is there in the syllabus. So it is relevant in both the paper 2 and paper 4. That's why this article is important. This is the 15th year anniversary of RTI. So but even after 15th year of implementation, we are having many problems with respect to RTI, and there has been a constant attack on the implementation of RTI. So that is only the author is talking about. So this article is written by two research scholars, Anjali and Amrita, and they are part of this national campaign for right to information. So they are giving the criticism in the article. The worst blow to RTA. So there were many instances where the RTA wasn't implemented properly, and the worst blow for the RTA came from in the recent times when the government attacked on the watchdogs of RTA. Who are all the watchdogs of RTA? It is Central Information Commission and State Information Commission. So they are the people who are implementing this RTA. And the worst attack on the RTA came when government reduced their powers. So what happened? Let us see the editorial. So it's been 15 years since the implementation. SC upheld the right to information as fundamental right. So that is one thing which the author is mentioning, that is fundamental right to information is a fundamental right under Article 19. How it is fundamental right under Article 19? The Supreme Court said that only if what is Article 19? Article 19 talks about right to expression, freedom of expression. So a person, a citizen of nation can express with, they can provide the meaningful expression. The right to expression can be done only if they are having right information. Only if a citizen is having right information, only with this information, only citizen can give an expression. What is this expression? Expression can be in the form of article, books, or movie, or a vote, or by criticism to the government, or support to the government. So all these things are part of right to expression. But this right to expression can be done only if the right information goes to citizens. So right to information is essential for right to expression. So that's why when right to expression is a fundamental right, then right to information is also a fundamental right. So this is the relationship between the information and the expression. So right to information revolutionized the citizens' participation in the government decision-making process, because anyone can go to the government office and ask why they have taken such a decision, and they can ask any information, and they can hold the government and they hold the officials responsible. So that's why it is a revolution indeed. But there is also huge potential of the law. In the recent time, if you could see, every year 6 million applications are being filed. 6 million application, which is 60 lakh people are filing RTA application every year all over India. So this is one stat where we can quote in the answer. So this RTA is being used by the two people. One side, this RTA is being used by the poor and marginalized. This poor and marginalized people are using RTA in order to get their basic entitlement. Government is launching a lot of schemes for the poor people, like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, or they are bringing in a lot of like Antodaya Yojana. And so these kind of schemes which is being launched by the government for the poor people, if you could see, in sometimes the beneficiaries are being harassed by the official whenever they go and ask for their entitlements. So at that time, citizens are using this right to information. See, not the poor people are using, they, with the help of the NGOs who are implementing RTA, like the one where the author is working, those kind of NGOs are supporting these poor people in order to ensure their basic entitlement. Why they have to use right to information for this? Because there is no effective grievance redressal mechanism. See, when a poor person is entitled for a house under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, he will go and ask. If that person is being denied, or if the official is asking for any bribe, what the person should do, they have to go and complain somewhere. So that provision to go and complain is not there. That's why RTA is being used by those people. Lack of efficient grievance redressal mechanism is being substituted by the implementation of the Right to Information Act. So that is the one group of people who are using the RTA. So RTA is used by the poor and marginalized because of the absence of the grievance redressal mechanism. And other people who are using this RTA is the spirited citizen, public spirited citizens, publicly spirited citizens who file RTA for the common benefit of the entire nation. Okay, in order to check the corruption. So in order to check against the corruption and arbitrary use of power, they are using the RTA. Like for example, recently RTA was filed with respect to how much money was each party received from the electoral bond scheme, and the RTA also filed with respect to the Rafael scam. And we also know that the PM Care fund also was citizens inquired how much money came into PM Cares through RTA. So likewise, publicly spirited citizens are also using. So these are all the two main people who are using the RTA Act. So these points can be used in the essays or in the answer sheet. You can draw a diagram like this also, like I just drew, when you're writing the answer. So that will make your answer more attractive. But what is the regression in the recent time? So how the RTA Act is being attacked? At the one side, government brought in this 2019 Amendment Act. in 2019, the RTA Amendment Act was brought, where the RTA was amended. In that, what they did, they attacked the office of Central Information Commission. So that's why this article theme is the worst blow to RTA has come in the form of persistent attack on the watchdogs. So attack on the CIC and SIC. So how this attack came? The first attack came in 2019, where if you could, when we are reading polity, reading this constitutional, non-constitutional body, there will be a column that in order to ensure the independence, they will be charging their salary in the charge. They will be, the salary will be part of the charged expenditure. And on the other side, the tenure will be fixed. The fixed tenure is a very important thing in order to ensure the independence. If the tenure is dependent on the pleasure of the government, then what will happen? In order to extend the tenure or to get benefits from the government, the officials working there might not be independent, or they might not be neutral. So fixed tenure is very important for the independence of an institution. But in 2019 Amendment Act, the government removed the fixed tenure, and it stated that government will fix the tenure of the Central Information Commissioner or state or the other informational commissioners. We all know Central Information Commission should have 11 information commissioners, plus among this 11, one will be Chief Information Commissioner. So this structure. So the tenure for them was fixed to 5 years earlier, but now the fixed tenure is being removed. The government will fix the tenure. So that is against the independence. Another thing is they have reduced the status. Earlier, the status of the CIC and ICs were equivalent to that of the Election Commissioner of India. So Election Commission is one of the, it is to be the most independent organization of the nation, like judiciary. So after judiciary, it is considered to be the most independent organization, and along with the UPSC also, they are the bulwarks of the constitution. But they reduced the CIC. Earlier, the CIC were getting the benefits like an election commissioner. Now they reduced their status to a normal government official and not as equal as election commissioner. This reduced status and removal of the fixed tenure is a big blow for the independence of the Central Information Commission. So that is the first attack. The second attack came through delayed or reluctant appointments. See, there should be 11 information commissioner in CIC, but the union government is, whenever the post is getting vacant or one of the information commissioner is tenure is getting over, so immediately government should reappoint new person, but this reappointment is being delayed or reluctant appointment of information commissioners. If you could see, presently information commission is having 6 vacancies, only 5 members are there, but it is having 6 vacancies. And if another dangerous fact is that there is no chief information commissioner for India now. Presently, government has not appointed him. In the last 6 years, 5 times the CIC has gone state chiefless. Why this is happening? Government is not doing the appointment regularly, and this appointment is being done only after the case is being filed. Because of that, what happened? Because of this less number of workforce in CIC, the backlogs have increased. A lot of cases are being piling up in the CIC. These backlogs, when they are piling up, that will reduce the efficiency. So this has become the major attack. The reduced efficiency because of the backlogs is a dangerous thing for the existence of CIC itself. So that is the second point. Third one is with respect to State Information Commission. 8 State Information Commissions are not having the chief, and the Tripura and Jharkhand have gone to an extent that there is no commissioners at all. They are having State Information Commission, but there is no commissioners in them. That is, the State Information Commissioner is not having any commissioners in them. So the Office of State Information Commission itself is not there now. So that is the case with respect to the Tripura and Jharkhand. So these are all the facts where we can quote in our answers. So note down all these facts and quote in your answers. So finally, author says that RTA is the hallmark of the democracy. In order to ensure the democracy functions well, RTA should be implemented tooth and nail without any compromise. So the next editorial for the day is about the phased manufacturing policy. The phased manufacturing policy for the mobile phone manufacturer. So this article, so recently, if you could note, government launched this production linked incentive scheme in order to boost the mobile phone manufacturing. Okay, so this production link incentive scheme was to support these mobile manufacturers, but this author in this editorial is providing the reality check. So what he's doing, he's analyzing the ground reality of the mobile manufacturing sector of India, and he's checking whether this scheme announced by the government will be beneficial or not. So that is the aim of this editorial. So this editorial is written by Mr. Chidambaram. Chidambaram is a professor. So this area, that is the manufacturing phased manufacturing policy, is relevant for us with respect to the industrial policy. That is, in GS paper 3, we are having this topic called industrial policy and industrial growth. So directly it is relevant in GS paper 3 economy. So the production linked subsidy scheme, the reality. So that is what the author is discussing. So before going into the argument, the author is giving us certain facts. So likewise, like usual thing, we have to note down the facts. See, government law before launching in this production linked incentive scheme, the government brought the phased manufacturing scheme. Okay, before bringing in the PLI scheme, government brought this phased manufacturing scheme as a precursor to the PLI scheme. So this phased manufacturing scheme, it was implemented in 2016. So it's been 3 years almost. If we are not, we cannot consider 2020. It's been 3 years. After the 3 years of implementation, the production in India increased from $13 billion to $31 billion. It has almost doubled, more than doubled. So the it has multiplied more than 100% in last 3 years after the implementation of phased manufacturing scheme. If you see this data, you will consider that this scheme was a success. But in reality, if you go and see, just we have increased the production. Just the production is being increased, but value addition is not being increased. Production means, production increase means the number of mobile phone manufacturing indeed increased in India after the launch. But if you see the value addition means from the scratch, all the components, how they are assembled to from the design stage, then component stage, and all these components are assembled into a mobile phone stage. So these are all the 3 stages. So in each stage there will be value addition. We have seen that in economy. So if you could account the value addition with respect to GDP growth rate, this value addition is very low. If the value addition is very low, then we are using the GVA method for GDP analysis. Then the contribution to the GDP also will be very low. So when we are focusing on improving the manufacturing sector, any area in the manufacturing sector, we should focus not only on production but also on the value addition. But this scheme has focused only on the increasing the production, but not at all on the value addition. The value addition is merely 10%. If you could see the value addition is merely 10%. So why the value addition is very less? See, what is happening is all the mobile manufacturing company, whichever was set up, like we had the Samsung, now Apple is also entering. What they did, they just set up the assembly unit in India. Okay, they just set up the assembly unit in India. They imported all the components. Okay, they imported all the components. Almost 85% of the components used by the Indian mobile manufacturers are imported, which is going to increase our import bill only. But when we compare it with the exports, it is very, very less. So this area was also discussed in the economic survey of this year. So I have done the economic survey video, and the video is available in our channel. See the economic survey video. It will be in the 3rd video, part 3 of the video. We would have discussed about this issue of mobile phone manufacturing and the network products. So see that. So what is happening here is we are just importing the raw materials and we are doing the assembly. Here we are not doing any value addition. Only if we do the value addition, then only GDP will grow. Without value addition, just assembling and producing the phone is not going to contribute to the GDP in any way. So that is the first point the author is going to keep. So the earlier scheme didn't do that. So at least this scheme should do that. So that is what the author is telling. India's imports. See, if you could compare a few nations who are in Asia, if you could see China, Vietnam, and India. These 3 people are doing the mobile manufacturing. If you compare China and Vietnam with India, in China and Vietnam, the exports are more than the imports with respect to the mobile components. But with respect to India, the imports are 25 times the exports. So imports are very, 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 very high when compared to the exports. India imports 25 times the value of its exports and highest in the sector. So that is the second criticism which the author says. Okay. So this was also discussed in the economic survey. So next author is going into the present effectiveness of the present production linked incentive scheme. So whether that scheme will be efficient or not. So before going into that, author is talking about how the manufacturing sector is there in India. If you could see, India produces 29 crore units of mobile phone. In last year, we produced 29 crore units of mobile phone. Amongst the 29 crore, 94% were sold in the local market. So whatever mobile phone being manufactured in India is sold within the India, and only the remaining 6% were exported. So this is the first data he is giving with respect to the manufacturing sector. That is, among the 29 crore units produced, only 94% were used in the local market. That is, we are just catering the local demand. Our export market is very, very low. Even if we are doing the export, where our exports are going, that is the second thing which the author is telling, that exports are low cost mobile phones. We are not exporting Apple 12. Okay, we are just doing the Apple XS. Apple XS is a cheap phone, like cheap phone. With respect to Apple, it is cheap. See, we are exporting Lava mobiles. We are exporting Optimus Prime mobiles. The mobile phones which are costing between 5,000 to 13,000. So in this area only India is manufacturing. India is not exporting high-end or costly mobile phones. Only low-cost mobile phones are being exported by India. So this is the second point which the author is giving with respect to the characteristics of the Indian mobile manufacturing sector. That is, among the production, 94% is consumed by the local market and only 6% is exported. And whatever export or manufacture we are doing in India, it is low cost manufacture or low cost export, not the high end phones. The third thing which the author is telling is where we are exporting. We are exporting to the poor nations. We are not exporting to rich nations. We are exporting to poor nations like Africa or other Asian nations. So this is the three characteristics. So where you can see whether this PLA scheme is going to improve these three characteristics and it is going to help or not. So that is what the author is talking. So after implementation of the PLI scheme, if at all any new mobile phone is manufactured, it is going to be to be exported only. See, already whatever manufacturing we are doing, it is sold in the local market. Only the remaining is being exported. If at all we are manufacturing anything new based on the PLI scheme, that is also going to be exported only. So this PLI scheme is going to act as an incentive to boost the exports of the mobile phone from India. So that is another point. Next, author gives another statistics. One argument government said was that if with the implementation of the scheme, the mobile manufacturing unit from China, they will relocate to India. Okay, they will relocate to India because Chinese government and the see, on the one side China is facing the global falls because of the COVID-19. On the other side, the per capita income of China is rising, so the labor is becoming costlier. So they will relocate to India. This is what the argument. But if you could see the reality, if 100 rupees is the cost of making one phone without any subsidies or incentives by the government, without any incentives or subsidy from the government, if a person is manufacturing phone and it costs 100 rupees, okay, without any subsidies. Okay, now let us see how much subsidy giving. So China is giving certain subsidies. Because of that subsidies, the cost has been brought down to 79 rupees. Vietnam is giving subsidies and those incentives has brought down the cost to 89 rupees in Vietnam. But if you could see India, what is happening in India, based on this phased manufacturing policy and the PLI scheme, the mobile phone is going to cost 92 rupees only. Okay, it is still lower than whatever the cost is in other two prominent nations. So if at all a person wants to move from China, they will be moving it to Vietnam and they won't move to India. That is another reality the author is talking about. See, no need to remember all these things. No need to write this in detail, but you can just write down this number 79, 89, 92. It is easy to remember. It is just a series. So we can just write this. In China, it is only 79. In India, Vietnam, it is just 89 rupees. But to make a mobile phone in India, it is just 92 rupees. So government should provide more incentives. So what author is telling, PLA is not enough and more incentives should come so that the production cost is further falling. So that is one thing. So see why the production cost is high in India, because we are importing. If we are producing the components in India itself, then the cost will come down further. This import charges is increasing the cost. So that is one thing. India's mobile manufacturing, which you already discussed, India's mobile manufacturing investments are targeted in the relatively local and low value export markets. Local markets, that is 94% in the local market, and low value export market is only our characteristics. But if you could see the PLI scheme, our export competitiveness is low selling phones. That is the phones which is costing between 8,000 to 12,000. So these are the range of phones which we are producing in India and which we are exporting. But the PLI scheme, if you could see, they are telling that only if see what is PLI scheme? PLI scheme says that any incremental production, see they are taking 2019-20 as the base year. If let us take a company X. If company X produces 100 phones in 2019-18, they are taking this as base year. In 2021, if that company X is producing 110 phones, for each incremental manufacturing from the base year, the government will provide incentives. So what is incremental manufacturing here? From 100 phones, they produce 110 phones. So for those additional 10 phones, the government will provide 4 to 6% subsidy. If the mobile phone is costing 1,000 rupees, then the government will provide 60 rupees as an incentive per phone. So for each and every incentive in 2022, if they are producing 130 phones. For this 30 phones, they will be providing the subsidy. Government will be providing the subsidy. So this is the PLI scheme. But this PLI scheme is targeted for those phones which are higher than 15,000 or more. See, our expertise is in 18,000 to 12,000, but the government is launching the scheme which is going to benefit the phones which are of cost higher than 15,000. So this is the anomaly here which the author is talking about. So it is not targeting the right one. And these local manufacturers who are in India, their performance are also falling. That is the Lava phones or Optimus Prime, their performance is falling in the recent times. So that is another thing. And they are crushed because of the huge competitors. See, Samsung has established one of the largest assembling unit in India, in Noida, and Apple directly didn't come. Instead, it is having six assemblers in India who are under contract to Apple. So likewise, these international people, when they come into India, they are crushing. Our local manufacturers cannot stand in front of them. So it is not going to benefit the already existing indigenous industries. Instead, this PLI scheme is going to benefit the huge manufacturers, because in PLI scheme recently, government, what they said, they chose 16 people. Among the 16 people, they chose 5 foreign companies, 5 local companies, and 5 foreign companies, 5 local companies, and 6 components manufacturing companies. So they chose 16 companies in the PLI scheme. Among the 16, there are 5 schemes. Among these 5, one is Samsung, and remaining 4 are related to Apple. So when these companies are also getting incentives same as the 5 local companies like Lava or any other company, Micromax, what will happen? These companies will further get benefited, and these local companies can never compete with them. So that is another argument which the author is telling. If at all there is a question with respect to mobile manufacturing, we can quote it down. And so what we can do now? See, if you could see, when Samsung moved from Korea to Vietnam, what it did? When they moved from Korea to Vietnam, not only Samsung assembling unit moved, but also all the component manufacturers, almost 67 components manufacturers are there for Samsung, who provide components to Samsung, and Samsung does the assembly of the phone and sells in the market. So when the Samsung assembly unit went to Vietnam, along with the Samsung unit, 63 components manufacturers moved to Vietnam, and they started producing the components. So components are produced locally, and they are going to assembly unit, and this assembly unit, from this assembly unit, they are exporting. That's why the cost is very low in Vietnam. But when Samsung moved to India, the component manufacturers never moved along with the Samsung. Only the assembly unit moved, and the component manufacturers never came. Okay, so only if that happen, only if the co-location of the component manufacturers are also taking place, then only the PLI scheme will be effective. Then only we can improve the cost of phone, then only we can improve the export competitiveness. So that is what the author is telling. So co-location is very important. So note down all these points. When if there is a question regarding PLI schemes, you go to PIB and study the PLI scheme and study the positives about the PLI scheme. If you want any criticism, note down this editorial and take the criticism of the PLI scheme. That's it. So the final editorial for the day is about the toy manufacturing. So recently in one of the Man Ki Baat program, Prime Minister said that indigenous toy manufacturing is crucial. We know in India there is the anti-China sentiment is going on, and we decided to ban the Chinese imports. One of the crucial Chinese imports which is coming is the plastic toys which are coming from China. A huge, almost 90% of the toys which we consume in India is coming from China. So what Prime Minister said, in order to reduce the imports from China, we have to make our own industries. For that only they brought in this Atmanirbhar. So Prime Minister brought this Atmanirbhar in order to reduce the imports from China and in order to increase the self-reliance. So one area where the self-reliance should be increased is the toy manufacturing sector. In the toy manufacturing sector, what Prime Minister said, there are many toy companies in India locally, and those toy companies, not toy companies, there are many local handicrafts toy makers like Chennapatna Toys or Etikopakka Toys or Kondapalli Toys, which are doing the local toy manufacturing through the handicrafts, through the small industries. And we are also having Tanjore Toys. So these toys industries should be focused, and they should be improved and funded so that the Indian toy industries, indigenous toy industries are also growing. So this article talks about the plight of the indigenous toy industry in India. So this is actually a this editorial, it is actually ground zero reporting of the Hindu. So Hindu researchers, they did the ground zero reporting. So this is the local Indian toy industry, the reality. So Chennapatna Toys, Etiko Pakka toys and Kondampalli toys are three important toys in Andhra Pradesh, and all the three toys are having the GI tag. So these toys are generally made through wood. All the three are wooden toys. So these are all the three toys. These are all. This is the Chennapatna toys, Etiko Pakka toys, and Kondapalli toys made from the wood. So one prelims question can come from this editorial. In this editorial, I found that there can be a question where they can ask the toys and the wood used or the tree used. If you could see, Chennapatna toys uses ivory wood. Etikopaka toys use Ankudu wood and Kondapalli toys use the Tella Poniki wood. So they can give the toys here and the wood names here, and they can ask which of the following questions are rightly matched. So note down these three names for the preliminary point of view. Because UPSC is doing like this, they are giving the states, or they can give the states and the trees, or they can give the states and the toys. So anyway, the question can come. So please note it down. That is the trend of UPSC. Ivory wood for Chennapatna, Ankudu for Etikopakka, and Kondapalli toys use Tella Poniki. So let us go into the editorial now. So first author, they are discussing about the problems in the toy industry. The first problem in toy industry is that Chinese toys are half the price of Indian toys. See, these Indian wooden toys are costlier. If the Indian toys cost 100 rupees, the Chinese toy is 50 rupees. So parents will, which they will buy to their kids, they will buy this to the kids, because Indians are having the mentality of buying the cheaper goods. So cheaper the good, the more the sales will happen. So that is why the Chinese imports are rising in India. The Chinese imports, those plastic toys are just half the price, so that they are having the demand. On the other side, government itself is acting against the local toy manufacturing industries, because they are imposing 12% GST on the toys. This 12% GST on the toys is hampering the toy industry, which is creating the problem. So what government should do, if at all government wants to incentivize the toy industry, what they can do, they can they can reduce the GST 12% to 5%. So that is one thing which the government can do. And the demonetization and the COVID induced lockdown, they have acted as a huge blow to the entire toy industry, because demonetization took away all the currencies. These toy industries went cash driven. And 2016, after the 2016, there was a downfall in toy industry, and that downfall is being intensified by 2020 COVID lockdown. So this huge downfall. So we can draw a map also. We can draw demonetization and we can draw COVID. So there is a huge fall. And the implementation of GST. So GST came in 2017. So likewise, because of all the three things, the industry is heavily injured. Okay. Demonetization is the reason, because it took away the cash, and without cash they couldn't do any investments. So that is the reason, because mostly they are cash dependent, so they won't be having bank accounts or money in the digital format. So what government should do? Government should reduce it. They should either keep it in the 5% tax area, or for local indigenous like Chennapatna, Etikopakka and Kondapalli can be kept in the 0% GST also, because we need to protect our handicrafts. So that is one problem. Then use of synthetic dyes. See, the speciality of the Chennapatna toys and all these three toys is that they use the vegetable dyes. Okay, the color which they are using to color the toys is taken from the vegetables. So they are using vegetable dyes, which is very organic and very child friendly. But in the recent times, because of the loss which they are facing, what they are doing, slowly they have started to use the chemical and synthetic dyes. Because they are using chemical and synthetic dyes to reduce the cost, it is being discouraged by the many nations. See, these toys are being used by the children. When they are used by the children, they should be chemical free and they should be safe for the children. So that's why most of the developing nations are not accepting our imports, because they are using synthetic dyes. Next, monotonous and no innovation. All the local artisans, they are not improving their skills. They are just stuck in their past. Whatever designs which were done 50 years ago or 100 years ago, the same designs they are following, and the same kind of toys they are using. They are not coming into the modern lines. See, in modern times, what we have to do? We have to bring an Avengers toy. So Avengers is the trend. We have to bring an Avengers toy, or we have to bring a CSK toy like that, or a Deccan Sunrisers Hyderabad toy. So like that, to capture the modern trend, we have to evolve and become modern. So still they are making the age-old monotonous design, and no innovations or advancement in design. That is another main problem. If at all they are making a toy with the Avenger logo, imagine how it will go. Or if they are making a toy with respect to Captain America's thing, or a Spider-Man mask kind of a thing, imagine how much it will sell. So next generation is moving out. That is, these handicrafts are being passed from generation to generation. The future generation are moving out because of the no big incentives for them to stay. It is not having good future. And if you could see, we saw that Kondapalli toys used Tellaponiki trees, but government have kept this Tellaponiki wood under the Wildlife Protection Act. And hence, what is happening? Cutting the Tellaponiki wood is declared illegal now. So that's why what the artisans are doing, they are using illegal woods. Since they are using illegal woods, they cannot, government cannot support them. So what government can do? Government can take a step here. Either they can remove the Tellaponiki from the protection status, or they can create any other alternatives for the artisans. So that is one thing. So now these are all the problems, because there can be a question, because just now we saw industrial policy and growth is part of the GS paper 3, and there this question can come. This question can be asked in the society also, or in the essays also, wherever we can write. So if at all there is an essay with respect to Atmanirbhar, we can write. So what is the potential of the toy industry? This Chennapatna, Etikopaka, Kondapalli, they are very eco-friendly toys. They are very safe to kids because they are using vegetable dyes. So naturally they are using vegetable dyes. Only because of the poor plight, they are moving to synthetic because they are cheaper. So government should incentivize more to use vegetable dyes. If they are using vegetable dyes, all the international foreign nations like UK, USA, they will also start importing us, because it is very safe for the children and it is eco-friendly also. They are soft edged. If you could see those toys, they are highly polished and highly soft edged. The edges are soft. Again, it is very safe for kids. And these toys are mobile. If you could see, they will be moving mobile toys, and they are moving toys. They are not static toys. Since they are moving toys, children will play with these toys, and it will improve the hand-eye coordination of the children. And they are very colorful. It will improve their color recognition skill also. So why we have to give toys to the children? There is a purpose why we have to give toys to the children, because it will improve the hand-eye coordination, it will improve the color recognition skill, and it will also improve the motor skill, that is the flexibility of their arms. So that's why we have to give them toys, and all these three areas, Chennapatna toys and these local toys, are getting a tick. And if we are boosting is, this will also turn into a destination tourism. If you could note, this Chennapatna, Etikopaka or Kondapalli are not the name of the toys. Instead, they are the villages where the toys are being made. They are just villages and towns. So those towns can turn into a destination tourism location where people are coming to just to see that. Okay. So tourism property, they can also be using this as a souvenir also. And culture related toys, Prime Minister also talked about this cultural toys. We can make a lot of cultural icons, like not only making Captain America or Iron Man, we can also make the culturally significant people, like for example, we can make a toy, Gandhi toy, or we can make an Ambedkar toy, or we can make a Nehru toy, or going back we can make a Ram toy or a Hanuman toy. So like that, Arjuna. So like that, some mythological personalities. So those kind of toys also can be promoted, because India is having the rich cultural heritage. We are having Akbar toy can be brought in. We can make Taj Mahals out of the toy. So like that we can do. Those kind of cultural toys can be promoted. So that is the potential of toy industry in India. So now what is the way forward? The way forward is online marketing. So government should ensure online marketing, so that if at all these toys are available in the Flipkart or Amazon or in the online marketing, more people will buy. So online marketing, they should be given a special base. That is a step number one. Next one, they are affected by this COVID-19 lockdown, and they are having a huge cash crunch. So for that, government should provide them capital, interest-free loans. Presently, the loans given to those sectors are charging 9%. So low interest loans should be given in order to incentivize them. So that is the second thing. Third one, how to improve the toy industry? By providing skill development. Just now I said, still they are making age-old designs. They should bring new designs, CSK design or Avengers design. So likewise, new designs of toys should come. So like that, innovation should be boosted, and skill development and workshops should be organized to train the people to make the new kind of toy, a Modi toy or a Rahul Gandhi toy. So those kind of toys should come. So next, linking it with the startups. Many new startups can be linked with respect to the toy industry. These artisans who are in the Chennapatna can be linked to a startup who are in another city in Hyderabad, and they can bring in new innovation, new design, and new way of marketing for those toys also. So that is one big potential, linking it with the startups. And we have to incentivize the IT industry. IT industries are giving a huge gift. We can use their CSR fund to improve the skills and the incomes for these artisans. And we can bring in this return gift culture. That is, whenever you are attending the marriage, they will be giving return gifts. In those return gifts, if you are using these toys as a return gift, then imagine the demand for the toys will automatically rise. So there should be this return gift culture with the Indianized toys should be promoted. That is one step to do. And finally, what we can do? And finally, like what government did for khadi. Government did that each house should use at least one khadi item. So that was any campaign the government launched to boost the khadi. Similarly, each kid should have at least one Chennapatna toy or one Tanjavur toy. So like that we can have a campaign. We can have a campaign for toy manufacturing. So that is the that will boost the toy industry. If at all there is a question with respect to toy industry, we can write the potential. See, we are having the problems, we are having the potential, and we are also having the way forward. Everything we can write, and we can finish the editorial. So thank you guys. With this, we have come to the end of the 5 editorials of the week series. So today we discussed the 5 editorials which came in the Hindu in the last 1 week. Please see the video. We have already discussed the 7 videos. Please see all the videos and revise regularly. How you can increase your revision? Like every Saturday we are bringing in a video. On every Sunday, what you can do? On Sundays, you can see a previous video. By seeing that, you can revise it. See, we are all reading editorial, but we are not remembering. When we will remember, we will remember only if we are doing the regular revision. So Saturday see a video of the live video, on Sunday see a previous video, so that on each Saturday and each Sunday you are seeing 2 videos regularly, so that your memory is intact. So thank you guys. Let us see next week on another video. Thank you.